नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
जय
गंगा माई की जय।
जय
यमुना माई की जय।
जय
तुलसी देवी की जय।
जय
भक्ति देवी की जय।
जय
श्रमवेता भक्त वृंद की जय।
जय
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरि हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे कृष्णा
All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
We are reading in Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, discussing Madhya Lila, Chapter 1, the later pastimes of Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these are the prayers by Rupa and Sanatan Goswami to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when they first met him at Ramkeli.
তোমার নাম লয়া তোমার করিল নিন্দন, সেই নাম হইল তার মুক্তির কারণ।
Jagai and Madhai uttered your holy name by way of blaspheming you. Fortunately, that holy name became the cause of their deliverance. Shall we repeat that? Go ahead. Jagai and Madhai. Yeah, come on. Jagai and Madhai uttered your holy name by way of blaspheming you.
Fortunately, that holy name
became the cause of their deliverance.
Yeah.
জগাই মাধাই হইতে কোটি কোটি গুণ, অধম পতিত পাপী আমি দুইজন।
Let's say it together. We too
are
millions and millions of times
inferior
to Jagai and Madhai.
We are more
degraded,
fallen, and sinful than they.
ম্লেচ্ছ জাতি ম্লেচ্ছ সেবী, করি ম্লেচ্ছ কর্ম, গো ব্রাহ্মণ দ্রোহী সঙ্গে আমার সঙ্গ।
Actually, we belong to the caste of meat eaters
because we are servants of meat eaters.
Indeed,
our activities are exactly those of the meat eaters.
Because
we are associated with such people, we are inimical toward the cows and brahmanas.
There are two kinds of meat eaters. One who is born in a family of meat eaters, and one who has learned to associate with meat eaters. From Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis, formerly Dabir Kash and Shakara Malik, we can learn how one attains the character of a meat eater simply by associating with meat eaters. At the present moment in India, the presidential offices are occupied by many so-called Brahmanas, but the state maintains slaughterhouses for killing cows and makes propaganda against Vedic civilization. The first principle of Vedic civilization is the avoidance of meat eating and intoxication. Presently in India, intoxication and meat eating are encouraged. And the so-called learned Brahmanas presiding over this state of affairs have certainly become degraded according to the standard given herein by Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. These so-called Brahmanas give sanction to slaughterhouses for the sake of a fat salary. And they do not protest these abominable activities. By deprecating the principles of Vedic civilization and supporting cow killing, they are immediately degraded to the platform of mlechas and jabanas. A mlecha is a meat eater, and a jabana is one who has deviated from Vedic culture. Unfortunately, such mlechas and jabanas are in executive power. How then can there be peace and prosperity in the state? The king or the president must be representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Maharaj Yudhishthir accepted the rule of Bharat Varsha, formerly this entire planet, including all the seas and land, he took sanction from authorities like Bhishmadev and Lord Krishna. He thus ruled the entire world according to religious principles. At the present moment, however, heads of state do not care for religious principles. If irreligious people vote on an issue, even though it be against the principles of the Shastras, the bills will be passed. The president and heads of state become sinful by agreeing to such abominable activities. Sanatan and Rupa Goswamis pleaded guilty to such activities. They therefore classified themselves among the mlechas, although they had been born in a Brahmana family. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitang Jena Bhutale Chayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I would like to ask the blessings and permissions of all devotees, particularly those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So we're reading these prayers by Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and they're describing their position as being quite low. We know in the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna describes the process of falling into the material entanglement. He says in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, perhaps you know the verse, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsam. How does it go? Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsam Sangasteshu Prajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Krodha Vijayate Krodha Bhavati Samoha Smiti Vibrama Smiti Bhamshat Buddhinashat Pranashyati. It's a very detailed description of how our consciousness becomes absorbed, trapped in material consciousness. In a shortcut in the Bengali, it goes, Krishna bhuliya jeev bhogavancha kare hashite maya tare japatiya dhare. Turning away from Krishna, forgetting Krishna. Bhuliya means forgetting Krishna. Bhogavancha kare, wanting to enjoy material sense gratification. Maya immediately grabs you. Come on with me. Or in the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, first thing is, we start to think about that object of material enjoyment. And what happens is we become kind of obsessed with it. You can't get it out of your mind. Dhyayato. Usually you think of dhyayato. What does dhyayato usually mean? Meditation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dhyan is meditation. So people are meditating, already meditating. So meditating on a brand new car or a beautiful or a handsome partner, a house or bank balance. Meditation is going on, but Vishaya means for the physical bodily pleasures. So the meditation on that. Dhyayato Vishaya Sangas, then one becomes attached to it. Sangat sanjayate kama, and by that attachment, when that lust comes up, that really those strong desires. Of course, nowadays people think, oh, if someone is very ambitious, that's a wonderful thing. Of course, ambitious can be also understood to be kama. Yeah. So the process is then the one becomes ambitious, kama krodha, and then because one becomes very desirous, strongly ambitious. If the plans for the Vishaya, for becoming successful in that sense gratification, are thwarted or blocked or delayed in any way, then what happens? Krodha, anger. We got to get angry. And so then wars develop, isn't it? Wars come about because there's this belief or propaganda that all wars would be to spread democracy, blah, blah. No, it's because other places have has stuff that the one country wants to exploit, and so they start a war, and like that. So krodha, krodha, krodha bhavati sammoha. Then out of anger, people become bewildered. Sammoha, and when somebody is angry, does it ever happen to you that when you're angry, you do things that you regret? Does it ever happen?
Yes.
So that's called smriti. The good sense becomes lost, and then in that angry moment, sometimes when people are arrested for murder, then one of the defenses is not that it's not a first-degree murder. It wasn't premeditated. It just happened on the spur of the moment out of an angry outburst. So they won't be punished as severely as someone who plans the murder and carries it out very meticulously. So the murder. So out of anger, then one loses one's awareness of things. Smriti bamshat buddhinasha. One loses intelligence. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Then one falls back completely, get absorbed in the material world. Interestingly, I heard a class where a devotee was saying that that verse comes from, encourages the idea that your kama, your desires, arise from your association, right? Sangasteshu sangat sanjayate kama. But sangha can be association with a particular sense object in your mind, but it also can mean the association you keep, the kind of people that you hang out with. They determine or they reinforce the kind of association, kind of desires you have. So therefore, in spiritual life, one of the important aspects of spiritual life is focus one's association with spiritually minded persons. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastrakaya, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhihai. this is a very emphasized, we say things 3 times to emphasize. So this emphasis is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that associate with spiritually minded people or sadhus who are determined or striving for spiritual perfection, spiritual advancement. Sarva siddhi hoy. Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Just even a moment's association in that way can liberate one to from this material world. So I was saying I heard this class and I thought, is this correct that is this described anywhere in the Shastras? And sure enough, I was reading in the purport of the Upadeshamrita, Srila Prabhupada makes that comparison also, that desire comes from association. Who you associate with, that's where your desires are reinforced and become strong. So in this, these verses, these prayers by Rupa and Sanatan, they're admitting and they're highlighting this fact because they're associated with meat eaters or javanas, mlechas. Sometimes mlecha is described as a person who's deviated from the Vedic civilization, and javana is described as meat eater. Here it's the other way around, but they both are perhaps not synonymous, but related. So they're admitting, because we're so much involved with, intimately involved with the kingdom of Nawab Hussain Shah, and which his kingdom was involved in bad activities. So they get the results. They get some of the results of that. Now, it's really interesting also to know they're presenting themselves as such low personalities, isn't it? But these same persons, by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're going to be elevated to the highest position. Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, highly elevated associates of Lord Chaitanya, because they're taking shelter of him and giving up those associations of the mlechas and javanas. That's quite interesting. This is not just a new concept. The same concept was put forward by Kapila Dev when he was teaching his mother. He said, "Aho batasva pachoto gariyan, jaj jiva gre vartate nama tubhyam." He said, "Oh, aho means, you know what aho means? Aho? Wow, wow, wow. Aho batasvapacho. Svapacho means those people who are born in the family of dog eaters, not even cow eaters, but dog eaters. Yajiva agre vartate namadhubhyam. If they have at the tip of their tongue always the names of Krishna, the holy names of Krishna, then it's understood that they've already surpassed all the Vedic rituals and sacrifices and austerities. And just by virtue of their having the holy names of God always on their tongue. So that was Lord Chaitanya's instructions, same instruction given by Lord Chaitanya to the 6 Goswamis and all of us to regularly chant the holy names of the Lord. Jagai Madhya received that same instruction. Rupa and Sanatan received that instruction. Srila Prabhupada is also instructing us in a similar way. Hare Krishna. Comments on this verse? Observations? Reflections? No? Oh, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, yes.
It's interesting you mentioned mlecha and meat, mlecha and yavan is synonymous kind of thing.
Yes.
They're kind of similar because they both are meat eaters. I wonder, and I think, I don't know, in Chaitanya or in the class, Prabhupada mentions, Orians also meat eater. And here, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, they consider themselves as a meat eater, associates of the meat eater. So, are of course, the Muslims, they take beef. How we will understand the depth of sin? Because
The
both
depth
are
of sin of who?
meat eaters general, because even Oriya also ate meat a lot. So does not refer to Muslims. This verse refers to everyone, right? Those are meat eaters, or no?
Yeah, sure. Anybody who's uh, uh, deviating from the principles of those principles of the Vedic civilization, which Srila Prabhupada cites as the first two principles are avoidance of meat eating and intoxication. And then he talks about the so-called Brahmins who are not Muslims, but are heading the government. And at least at that time in India, they're apparently he knew that they were getting some kind of donations to avoid to not cause any trouble to the slaughterhouses. That happens in that's politics, right? Politics, people, there's certain interest groups and they give money to a certain politician to get their interests protected, whatever it might be. And so the person in the position of political power, they go do the bidding of such a person. So that's why, yeah, you're right. It's not just Muslims, but even the uh, political persons who are apparently Hindus, they also would be considered on the same level. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's what I understand. The only thing is here we can see that they have taken a very realizing and humble position. And Prabhupada, I don't know, he mentioned about two kind of meat eaters. One is born in a family of meat eater, then other one is association. Any reason why he specified that, even just to state that they're actually good Brahmanas, but somehow they got associated? Why he stressed on this point?
I don't know that. It doesn't elaborate here. But of course, my understanding is that Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis were not born in a family of meat eaters. They weren't born in the family of meat eaters, but they had learned to associate with meat eaters. That was their uh, fault. Does that make sense? So Rupa and Sanatana themselves were not necessarily taking, that dietary deviation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank
Actually, this one point is even though we don't always stress it, about meat eating as a big deal because that disturbs, degrades one's consciousness as well. I know that in the family, if somebody stops eating meat in a family where they're brought up as eating meat and they stop, it causes great havoc. Do you know that? Yeah. I mean, some of you may not have been brought up in a family of meat eaters. I was brought up in a family of meat eaters, and just the fact that I stopped, it blows their mind. It blows their mind. They say, "Can't you just have a little bit?" No. My mother, from you know how long I was practicing Krishna consciousness, when she passed away, that was 10 years ago. And she's still at the last. She said, "Can't you just have a little bit of meat?" Okay, I said, "No, no." Anyway, it's just something that usually people follow their life, what they've learned in their youthful days. They just follow that on. So whatever the tradition is in their family, it's very common that just becomes their way of doing things later. And sometimes it's seen that you know people, they might be a little bit rebellious in their youth, but then when they get married and they have kids and whatever, then they find themselves talking exactly the same way that their parents told them, isn't it? Let's say, yeah, because that's how tradition continues. It prolongs itself. So for someone to change that and go back to the original culture on this planet, which is Krishna consciousness or Vedic culture, that's shocking to many people. Even just recently, one of the supporters of the Hare Krishna temple passed away. You probably know, but just a few weeks ago, he came up to me and he said, we we shouldn't be preaching people not to eat meat anymore. It's too bad. It's too tough for people. He was saying to me.
Who was that saying?
What's that?
Who was that saying?
That was one of the big supporters who passed away recently. I'm not going to give names, but so this person was coming from an Indian cultural background, but there's so many influences in the world, and it's to remain free from these kinds of influences is not easy. Even when Srila Prabhupada first came from India to the United States, there was one so-called sannyasi from the Ramakrishna mission, and he advised Srila Prabhupada, you have to learn how to dine and dress like the Westerners. You have to learn how to dine and dress like the Westerners. Srila Prabhupada's response was, no, I haven't come to learn from you, from the West. I'm come to give something. I'm not coming for begging. I'm coming to give. That's quite fixed in Krishna consciousness. I see that Brajesh Govinda Prabhu has his hand up. Oh, you're
Hare
muted.
Krishna Prabhu, all goes to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to
Yes.
you and all the devotees. Thank you. Yeah, whatever you say to, this is the very true thing. I do not want to sometime, the reveal this thing like, the Ramakrishna mission or something. They are always, there is there's a YouTube video is very nicely explained. There is some sunnashis there. They said, where Krishna said we are not eating meat and fish. I don't know. Might be they are foolish person. Might be they are talking about the Vaishnava Sampradaya. They said they are all foolish. They don't know where Krishna said something. I'm really very, like I'm not sure what they are saying, and they are sannyasi, but they don't understand Bhagavad Gita. This is the thing, bro. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, in this in the world that we have today, when people sell things, they often make up jingles. You know what a jingle is? Like in a commercial, they have a little song that goes along with the product, so that makes you think about it during the day. So anyway, in different places, they make up little jingles to go along with their philosophy. Of course, we have our jingle also. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But their jingles go something like, better worship eggplant than tulsi plant. Smash the idol, worship the living God. These kinds of things. They're jingles that have been made up. You won't find those in any Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, no. But so they make up these things and then they promulgate them. And because in the material world, people are already wanting to, rebel against the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh, they like this. Oh, very good. Yes, yes, yes. I know. Like when we would have the summer camp, not this one, but in Lake Huntington, there was always a couple of devotees who were a little more, shall we say, loose in following things. And so the kids would naturally tend to gravitate to people who do things because that's the tendency in this world. To whoever you associate with, you can associate with. You can do things. Srila Prabhupada used to say, if I didn't require these four regulative principles immediately, there would be thousands and thousands of people flocking. But no, it didn't change. He didn't change. So it's not that we're looking for necessarily hundreds and thousands of people. Prabhupada said, better one moon than many, many stars, because one moon can light up the night sky. Many stars cannot. So anyway, these things are there. So we know that this. I mean, I'm born in the West. I'm brought up as a in this kind of culture, but this is not a difficult. This is not a difficult stricture to follow. I guess probably because I don't associate with those who are involved in this meat eating culture. Luckily, by Srila Prabhupada's grace, those who are, it'll be a little more difficult. They invite you to the, you have a association of work people at work, and they invite you to, I don't know, happy hour drinks or something like that. What do? Forget it. I'm not going. But then they'll think you're not asocial, and they won't give you a promotion, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so the first principle of devotional service is accept things beneficial and reject things detrimental. Those are surrendered principles of surrender. Accept things beneficial for devotional service and reject things that are detrimental. So limiting our intimate association with those who are involved in such activities should be carefully done. Hare Krishna. Next.
মোর কর্ম মোর হাতে গলায় বাঁধিয়া কুবিষয় বিষ্ঠা গর্তে দিয়াছে ফেলাইয়া.
The two brothers.
The two brothers.
Well, it's no longer a prayer anymore.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. That's fine. It's called enthusiasm. Yeah. The two brothers, Shakara Malik and Dabir Kas, very humbly submitted that due to their abominable activities, they were now bound by the neck and hands and had been thrown into a ditch filled with abominable stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. It reminds me of how, perhaps the mafia gets rid of their enemies. They bind them with necks and by the neck and hands and throw them into either the ocean or some place. I guess that was prevalent that time too. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has explained Ku Vishaya Garta as follows. Because of the activities of the senses, we become subjected to many sense gratificatory processes and are thus entangled in the laws of material nature. This entanglement is called Vishaya. When the sense gratificatory processes are executed by pious activities, they are called Su-Bishaya. The word Su means good, and Bishaya means sense objects. When the sense gratificatory activities are performed under sinful conditions, they are called Ku-Bishaya, bad sense enjoyment. In either case, either Ku-Bishaya or Su-Bishaya, these are material activities. As such, they are compared to stool. In other words, such things are to be avoided. To become free from Su-Vishaya and Ku-Vishaya, one must engage himself in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The activities of devotional service are free from the contamination of material qualities. Therefore, to be free from the reactions of Su-Vishaya and Ku-Vishaya, one must take to Krishna consciousness. In that way, one will save himself from contamination. End quote. That was all. That whole quote was from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In this connection, Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kebala Bisher Banda, Amrita Boliya Jeba Khai, Nana Joni Shadapire, Kadarja Bakhan Kare, Tar Janma Adha Pate Jai. Su-bishaya and Ku-bishaya both fall under the category of Karmakanda. There is another kanda, a platform of activity called Jnana Kanda, or philosophical speculation, about the effects of Ku-bishaya and Su-bishaya, with the intention to find out the means of deliverance from material entanglement. On the platform of Jnana Kanda, one may give up the objects of Ku-bishaya and Su-bishaya, but that is not the perfection of life. Perfection is transcendental to both Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. It is on the platform of devotional service. If we do not take to devotional service in Krishna consciousness, we have to remain within this material world and endure the repetition of birth and death due to the effects of Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, Nana Joni Shada Pire Kadarja Bhaktan Kare Har Janma Adha Pate Jai. One travels throughout various species of life and eats all kinds of nonsense. Thus, he spoils his existence. A man in material existence and attached to Ku-bishaya and Su-bishaya is in the same position as that of a worm in stool. After all, whether it be moist or dry, stool is stool. Similarly, material activities may be either pious or impious, but because they are all material, they are compared to stool. Worms cannot get out of stool by their own endeavor. Similarly, those who are overly attached to material existence cannot get out of materialism and suddenly become Krishna conscious. Attachment is there, as explained by Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.530. Matir na Krishne paratasvato va bito vipadyeta grihavrita adanta gobi vishatam tamishram punascharbita charvanana. Those who have made up their minds to remain in this material world and enjoy sense gratification cannot become Krishna conscious. Because of their attachment to material activities, they cannot attain liberation, either by their instruction of superior persons or by their own endeavor, or by passing resolutions in big conferences. Because their senses are uncontrolled, they gradually descend to the darkest regions of material existence to repeat the same process of birth and death in desirable or undesirable species of life. So this is a very strong shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj spoke in his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. What do you think about this, that it says that they cannot attain liberation either by instructions from superior persons? But I thought, the process of Krishna consciousness means to accept instructions from superior persons. And so isn't that part of advancement in spiritual life? And what do you say? Do you follow the question?
This instructions is in the material context.
Instruction, well, superior could be with a material context, but a superior person could also be a spiritually superior person. What do you think? This is a famously quoted verse. So the point is that grihavritanam. Grihavritanam means because that is their vrat. Vrat means our vow. Grihavritanam, their vow is that we're gonna enjoy life. Life is for enjoyment. Enjoy life in the material world, and live life for the moment. That's their prime focus. And so even if they might get instruction from a spiritually elevated person because of that grihavrat, that the strong determination and vow to enjoy material life. That's not going to be effective. Does that make sense? Srila Prabhupada used to say that there's two kinds of people, a griha vrat or griha medhi. Griha medhi. Medhi means someone whose mind is always on the household. Medhi's mind or consciousness. How can I decorate? How can I improve? How can I get more enjoyment here? And there's the grihastha. One can be in household life, but grihastha is an ashram using the household position to make progress in spiritual life by following principles and chanting the holy names, offering one's food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, stuff like that. So that grihastha hasn't made a vow that they're going to enjoy material life forever and ever. I see a hand up here. I don't know who SRD is, but I'm sure it's...
Hare
Yes.
Krishna Prabhu.
Mother Shobha Radhe. Okay, I got it.
I mean, the next line says it is because of their senses being uncontrolled. So yes, that's exactly what it is. But I was also thinking, he uses, he says it's superior instructions of superior persons or by their own endeavor. So one without the other also. We have to get instructions, but there also has to be our endeavor.
Yes.
So that's how I was thinking about it.
Yes. I mean, usually with the word or, you think one or the other. One or the other. They don't have to, yeah. So for example, there's a letter by Srila Prabhupada where he says harmonium is not to be used for kirtan and arati. Did you know that? It's not to be used for kirtan and arati. So that if I said kirtan or arati, then I'd say one or the other. But with a kirtan and arati, then you'd say, well, that means together at the same time. So yeah, so here or one or the other. Yeah, thank you. Other comments? Matirna Krishna, very famous verse. This is it reflects the same idea that Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the second chapter. Perhaps you know that verse. Bhogaisvarya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhao navidhiyate. That those people who are focused, those of us who are focused on just getting the gusto out of life in a material sense, not a spiritual sense, they never get the determination to engage in his service continuously, strongly, with effort. Okay, next verse.
Hare Krishna.
Here we have Shashi Shekhar Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand, so I just jumped in. This verse here in the purport, we see that the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is radically opposed to the materialistic view of life that we're all saturated with, especially in America and around the world. We also see that many people come to the temple who are very much attached to this materialistic life. So the question I have is, how can we present the philosophy as it is without scaring away the people who are still attached, that are coming to the temple or are reading the books or maybe getting a book? Because the fear is that if we presented this level of kind of radical anti-materialism, it would scare them away. So it's like a balance we have to find, but just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on maintaining the potency of the message, but also not overdoing it with people who are trying to make their way in.
Good point. Good point. So, I mean, as you know, when we're that verse that we quoted earlier, Dhyayato Vishayam Pumsam, this is the process of becoming involved and entangled and solidified in material life. Then Lord Krishna then shortly describes, in his nutshell, describes the process of freeing oneself from that. And he says, Vishaya binivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The one may have the taste, that taste for material enjoyment may be remaining, but it will stop. It will be reduced and minimized and go if one develops a higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. So our main focus is to involve people in the basic processes of Krishna consciousness, which is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting, Kirtan, Sankirtan, and the things associated with it, and also taking Krishna Prasadam. Those two things. And along with that, if they can hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Caitanya Caritamrita, naturally the attachment for those things will slacken. I don't think, Srila Prabhupada didn't really make a strong effort to preach vegetarianism. Sometimes when, there's a picture of a man with a cow's head and a axe, lifting the axe high in the air, and there's a person on a chopping block with a human head but the body of a cow. It looks like the man with the cow's head about to chop the person's head off. You've seen that picture?
Yes. I have a shirt with that on it.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. So actually, Srila Prabhupada didn't like that picture. He didn't like that picture, which is interesting. They still maintain it. A lot of things, because he felt it was, as you say, a little extreme, or he emphasized more the chanting, the Vishaya Vinivartante Nirahara Rasa Parajam Rasopyasya, the getting the higher taste. But of course, along with that, it's something like a child takes medicine, and when you get the medicine, sometimes it's sugar coated, isn't it? You get the medicine that's sugar coated, so the sugar coating is there, but the medicine will be there also. They like the medicine because the sugar coating, but then you get so that's more the way Srila Prabhupada did it. Of course, we're not going to deviate from these principles, but how to do that is and it depends on each person. On one hand, sometimes people need a really strong dose of to wake up. There's some devotees I've heard say that the strong preaching, it's something like when you cook a puri, you put it in the ghee, the hot ghee, and it comes to the surface, and in order to get it to puff up, you push it down, and then puffs up. So sometimes people say like that, and other people have been discouraged by too rigid pronouncements. So it's hard to make a blanket statement about how to do it. It depends on the person and the situation. What do you say?
I think the example you gave with the sugar coating on the medicine is very helpful to think about it as there's medicine, and yes, sometimes we need to sugarcoat it, but by understanding and staying connected to the truth of what the philosophy is, chanting Hare Krishna, distributing prasadam, sankirtan, maintaining that as the main focus of the movement in terms of the preaching. That seems to be a strategy that's in line with what Srila Prabhupada did, which ultimately is our direction as disciples.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not by sugarcoating doesn't mean we're going to change the philosophy or water it down or make it, we're not going to, instead of, because people don't like bhakti yoga, we're going to start practicing hatha yoga instead. No, we're not going to change the philosophy, but but to present it well, expertly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we do another verse? Really Bengali, nicely spoken.
আমা উদ্ধারিতে বলি নাহি ত্রিভুবনে পতিত পাবন তুমি সবে তোমা বিনে.
They're back to praying. So let's go together. No one within the three worlds is sufficiently powerful to deliver us. You are the only savior of the fallen souls. Therefore, there is no one but you. Okay, enough.
আমা উদ্ধারিয়া যদি দেখাও নিজ বল পতিত পাবন নাম তবে সে সফল.
All right.
Simply.
If you simply deliver us by your transcendental strength, then certainly your name will be known as Patita Pavana, the savior of the fallen souls.
সত্য এক বাত কহ শুনো দয়াময় মো বিনো দয়ার পাত্র জগতে না হয়.
Let us speak one word that is very true. Plainly hear us, O merciful one. There is no other object of mercy within the three worlds but us. That's us here. We're talking here. Yeah. Okay. Again.
মোরে দয়া করি করো সদয়া সফল অখিল ব্রহ্মাণ্ড দেখুক তোমার দয়া বল.
We are the most fallen. Therefore, by showing us your mercy, your mercy is most successful. Let the power of your mercy be exhibited throughout the entire universe. This looks like a Sanskrit verse here. Na brisha paramartam eva me shrinu vigyapanam ekam agrata jadi mena dasyashyase tada dayanyastava nata durlabha. Oh, this is, yeah, okay. Every weekend, this is together too. Let us submit one piece of information before you, dear Lord. It is not at all false, but it is full of meaning. It is this. If you are not merciful upon us, then it will be very, very difficult to find more suitable candidates for your mercy. This verse is from the Stota Ratna 47 by Sri Jamunacharya. Next verse.
আপনে অযোগ্য দেখি মনে পাও ক্ষোভ তথাপি তোমার গুণে উপজয় লোভ.
We are very depressed at being unfit candidates for your mercy. Yet, since we have heard of your transcendental qualities, we are very much attracted to you.
বামন জইছে চাঁদ ধরিতে চাহে করে, তৈছে এই বাঞ্ছা মোর উঠয়ে অন্তরে।
Indeed,
We are like a dwarf
who
who
wants
wants to capture the moon. Although we are completely unfit, a desire to receive your mercy is awakening within our minds. Bhavantam evanucharam nirantara prashanta nikshesha manoratantara kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara paharyayashyami sanata jivitam. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all desires, all material desires, and is completely pacified. When shall I engage in your permanent, eternal, as your permanent, eternal servant, and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? Purport. In his teachings to Sanatan Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu has declared every living entity to be an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do you know the Bengali of that? Anybody? It's a nice jingle. Mantra. Jiver Bharu Hoy Krishner Nityadas. Krishna Tatasta Shakti Ved Aved Prakash. This is the constitutional position of all living entities. Just as a dog or servant is very much satisfied to get a competent, perfect master, or a child is completely satisfied to possess a competent father, so the living entity is satisfied by completely engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord. He thereby knows that he has a competent master to save him from all kinds of danger. Unless the living entity comes to the guaranteed protection of the Supreme Lord, he is full of anxiety. This life of anxiety is called material existence. To be completely satisfied and devoid of anxiety, one must come to the position of eternally rendering service to the Supreme Lord. This verse is also from the Stota Ratna 43 by Sri Jamunacharya. One more.
শুনি মহাপ্রভু কহে, শুনো দবির খাস, তুমি দুই ভাই মোর পুরাতন দাস।
After hearing the prayer of Dabir Kash and Shakara Malik, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Dabir Kash, you two brothers are my old servants."
আজি হইতে উহার নাম।
Is there a purport to the next verse? I don't know. Let's see. Can we move it up? Yeah, there's a purport. Yeah, let's stop there. Let's stop there. Because that's a very nice purport. And that will be a discussion we'll have next time. After hearing the prayer of Dabir Kash and Shakara Malik, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Dabir Kash, you two brothers are my old servants." Nice. Questions, comments, reflections? Okay.
It's interesting. I just wanted to add a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that initially when they wanted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, they wanted to be serving him, but initially they started their prayers where they were just talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu benefiting from accepting the two as theirs, as his service. Is that right? Is that right, what I'm thinking?
Could you say that again?
Okay. The initial part of the prayers, they were Rup and Sanatan. At that time, they were the Birkhas and Shakar Malik. They were initially, when they were begging for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, they were talking in a way to tell him how it would benefit him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if he accepted the two as his servants. And then later on, they talked about themselves being, benefiting from that. Is that right?
I don't know. I don't recall that. I don't recall that.
Well, it
What is
says
that?
that, oh Lord, you will not find anyone most fallen than us. Basically, you will not find a suitable candidate like us if you don't deliver us. So that's the message.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're referring to.
Yeah. And also, like when they said,
Next one also.
Oh, yeah. Your name
strength.
will be glorified.
Yeah.
Yes. I got it. Okay. Yeah. So interesting point. I never thought like that. I have to think about that. Yeah. Very interesting point. Your name will be glorified because by taking us or showing being Patita Pavana, just like with Jagai Madai. Yeah. Narottam Das Thakur, many years, 500 years later, we still say, Heen Jata Chilo Harinam Udarilo, Tar Shakki Jagai Madai. You deliver even the low persons, Deen Heen. Look, just see, Jagai Madai even. You even got delivered them. Interesting point. Yes. Thank you. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhye cha patitanam pavanebhyo namo namaha.
Is there Vishnugada Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Prabhupada ki jai, Shravata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Gaur Chaitanya Prabhu.